بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن، خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان، والنجم والشجر يسجدان. والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان، ألا تطغوا في الميزان، وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان. والأرض وضعها للأنام، فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام، والحب ذو العصف والريحان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار، وخلق الجن من مارج من نار. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ رب المشرقين ورب المغربين، فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ مرج البحرين يلتقيان، بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان، فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام، فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ كل من عليها فان، ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ يسأله من في السماوات والأرض، كل يوم هو في شأن. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان، فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا، لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ يرسل عليكما شواظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة كالدهان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا جان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذ في النواسي والأقدام. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان؟ هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون، يطوفون بينها وبين حميم آن، فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ذواتا أفنان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيما عينان تجريان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على فرش بطائنها من استبرق وجنى الجنتين دان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن قاصرات الطرف لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كأنهن الياقوت والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ومن دونهما جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مدهامتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان نضاختان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما فاكهة والنخل ورمان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن خيرات حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان حور مقصورات في الخيام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على رفرف خضر وعبقري حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان تبارك اسم ربك ذا الجلال والإكرام.
जब कोई भी सुनाएगा दिल کے دریا بہائے گا، وہ کارواں سرور کا جو شانوں سے نکلا تھا، صغرا کو خبر کیا تھی، نہ لوٹ کے آئے گا۔ بامال ہوئے قاسم یوں گورو تڑپتے تھے، کس طرح چچا تیری میت کو اٹھائے گا، ٹوٹی ہے کمر شیکی گھبرانا مگر اکبر، فرزند نبی تیری لاش کو اٹھائے گا، سو تھے نہ تم اصغر جھولے میں تڑپتے تھے، دنیا کو خبر کیا تھی، ایک تیر سلائے گا، سرور نے اٹھائی تھی سب ساتھی یوں لاشیں کے، شبیر تیرا لاشا اب کون اٹھائے گا، شبیر تیرا لاشا اب کون اٹھائے گا۔ سلام۔
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sayyid Hasan Rizvi, respected elders, brothers, sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for all the names listed on the screen and Kul Arwah al-Mu'mineen wal-Mu'minat Sawab al-Fatiha. Ayat Mayajibun is requested for all the names listed on the screen and whoever is in need of it here and elsewhere. Let us all recite it together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Ladies' Majlis will be held tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. via Zoom. The link for Zoom was sent out via HIC WhatsApp broadcast earlier today and is also available in the newsletter. Now let us invite Sayyid to recite tonight's Majlis. Per Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين سيدنا والنبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا والطبيب ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين المكرمين الخيرين الفاضلين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لترابه مقدمه الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد صلوات على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In our past two sessions, we were asking this question about what were the traits, what were the characteristics of the people of Kufa, and for that matter, anybody who had called for Imam Hussein alayhi salam to come, the ones who claimed that they would support him, to stand with him and defend him. What traits did they possess that eventually led them to betray the Imam? We started analyzing the khutbah and the sermon of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salatu wasalam, which she had given in Kufa. We first started off by focusing on one specific part, which was a verse of Surah An-Nahl, chapter 16, verse 92, where she makes this analogy of calling the Kufans and anybody else who has these traits for that matter, like that fool of Makkah, the foolish lady of Makkah, who wasted her time spinning thread all day, making it tight and strong, and then to spend the rest of the day undoing that work. And the analogy here was about the oath, the promise, and the allegiance that they had made with the Imam. So Sayyidah Zainab, according to some following in the footsteps of her brother, both her brothers, of her father, of her grandfather, was showing that Muslims, time and time again, have made these promises and then have broken them. And one of the main reasons for breaking that was the reason that they had. Their motives for making those promises were materialistic in nature. They weren't divine in nature. They weren't meant for implementing God's rule on the earth. So when something else, a better offer came along, they switched. We then saw last time that we could actually break down and analyze the different types of letters sent by the Kufans and Basrans as well, but specifically the people of Kufa. And when we looked at them in 3 different groups, we saw that the contents of the letter differed. And that reflected on what sort of motivations they had. Why were they calling the Imam? So we saw that the first group, these true followers of the Imam, they called Imam Hussein alayhi salam for the purpose of divine justice. They recognized him as the grandson of Rasulullah, as the son of Ali, as the son of Fatima, as the successor to Imam Hasan, saying that this person deserves to lead and be the representative and divine leader on earth. That's why we are calling him. And they wanted that to be established. They wanted Sharia, God's law, to be established. Because they had seen time and again from these previous leaders, it was being broken little by little. The second group, which was, a larger majority then, they were followers of the Ahlul Bayt, but maybe a bit weaker in certain regards. So they weren't calling to the Imam for some religious or theological divine reason specifically. One of their main ideas was about what we would call social justice. They were about equality, about economic security, physical security, liberty, justice, these sort of ideas. Right? They saw the corruption within the Umayyad Empire, and they wanted it to end. And these same people, something we didn't mention last time, these same individuals, they didn't necessarily care who was the one who brought the justice. See, the first group, they knew that only one person can actually bring the justice. Only one person can establish God's law on earth. But the second group was mixed with different people. And some of those individuals, they thought, look, because they had also sent letters to Uthman as well, saying that, there's corruption in your government, please fix it. They didn't necessarily care who did it. For them, what was important was justice, equality, liberty, all those fancy words. That's it. Didn't matter who was in charge as long as that was in place. Then that third and final group, which composed of a larger majority of the people of Kufa, were these opportunists. Those who were very, very weak in their faith. Didn't have those fundamentals of Islam. So the reason that they called the Imam was because they saw, look, if he wins, we want to be in power. He's going to bring a change and we'll be able to profit from that. And of course, Yazid, through Ibn Ziyad, they applied different tactics to each of those groups. Now, one of the questions that had come up on Slido, which I'm going to address right now, before we go on to tonight's topic, somebody had asked, or I'll quote at least a part of it, they said, so the second group of people who were threatened by Yazid and Ibn Ziyad, were they wrong? Right? Remember, the second group, one of the tactics that was used was they were being imprisoned, they were being threatened, their families were being threatened and killed, right? They were intimidated, blockades, sanctions, things like that. And the person continues, I mean, if someone is threatening to mutilate and harm your family, shouldn't you try to keep them safe? Right? It's a valid question. So the first part of it is, were they wrong for doing what they did? Now, look, I blocked a whole bunch of different people together in the second group, right? We would have to look, group by group, person by person to see what were their actual motivations, what capacity and capabilities did they actually have. Everybody was different. We're not here to judge them, as I said last time. We're not in that business, and we don't necessarily care, right? Our whole purpose is to try to use that example to apply it for ourselves, for our relationship with our Imam. We're just using that in terms of a historical analysis. But we could at least understand from legal and theological premises that, yes, it is wajib for us to protect ourselves and our family. We know that that's the legal ruling there. However, there's something else that's there too. There's two factors. One is obeying the Imam of your time. And the second, and more important one perhaps, is that they're the ones who invited the Imam in the first place. They gave their promise. They said, you come here, Imam, and we'll defend you. You come here, and our life is for you. We give up our family, we give up our wealth, our health, everything is for you. And again, this is the point that Sayyida Zainab, Kulthum, Imam Sajjad, even Bibi Sakina, all throughout these khutbahs and sermons that they're giving, they keep highlighting some of these same points. And inshallah, over these next few sessions, we'll be mentioning these same ideas too. That they're breaking the promise. They could have easily not called the Imam. As we know from the history, the Imam was ready to kind of leave, right? He didn't have to come and rise up in that sense. The Kufans or Basrans and Muslims called him. They said, we promise that we'll defend you. They're the ones who broke their promise. So in one sense, we see that some people, they had a level of obedience to the Imam, which they went against, and others who maybe weren't traditionally what we would call Shias, they promised that they would defend, the son of Ali, the grandson of Rasulullah, the son of Fatima, and they didn't. So they broke their word. And this is also something that's haram to do. I don't want to mention any further there. So somebody asks, okay, if somebody now is threatening your own family, right? What do you do? I don't want to go into the specifics. I'll let you think about it. Imagine now, we all get the tawfiq, inshallah things clear up, and we get to go for Hajj or for Umrah, for example. We're all in Hijaz, right? I don't like calling it by the other name, right? It's the place that's been hijacked by the Saudi family, right? Hijaz. We're there, and it just so happens we have the tawfiq to be at a time where the Imam returns, while we're all there in Makkah. Inshallah, hopefully we all get to be there. Maybe. If that happens, and let's say we're with our family, we're with our friends, and the Imam is under duress, which she probably will be. We know what the people who are in charge will probably do to him. What are we going to do? Are you going to say, well, sorry, I've got a family to take care of. Sorry, Imam, I can PayPal you, I can Venmo you, right? I can give you funds. If you need, support from my heart, I can give you that. But I can't come out and defend you because I've got things to take care of. I've got a flight to catch back to America. I'm really sorry. You think about it to yourself and you'll have the answer. You know what your duty to the Imam should be. You know what sort of du'as that you and I have been making, right? Hopefully we're making it every single day. And again, that's the discussion that we're supposed to continue tonight. Then you'll have your answer about what you're supposed to do in that situation. And you can look in the history of what happened with the Imam as well. You had many people, as the Imam was going from Medina to Makkah, from Makkah onwards towards Kufa. We know that along the way he met with many individuals. Some were trying to give him advice, right? They said, Hussein, Yabna Ali, it's not good for you to rise up right now. They even told him, the Kufans are going to betray you. Leave them. You had some people said, you know what, I'm with you, but I can't do anything right now. I've got a farm, I've got a business, I've got a family to take care of. I can give you horses, I can give you camels, I can give you swords. Right? Very similar to some of the things that you and I may say to the Imam, unfortunately, right, of our time. That's what they offered. And many of those individuals, after they found out what happened to the Imam on Ashura, all of them lived with that regret and that shame and that guilt for the rest of their lives. They said, I had a chance to do that. And I ended up, missing, as they say, the caravan of love. I missed it. On the other hand, you see other true followers of the Ahlul Bayt, of the Imam, who joined the Imam. They were present with him all the way. Some of them, one famous companion, his name escapes me right now, but he was with the Imam in Karbala. And the Imam had found out that this person, this companion, his son was being held ransom by the government, by the Yazidi forces. I think this was either in Basra or Kufa, if I'm not mistaken. The Imam said, I found out what happened to your son. You have my permission. I want you to go and take care of your son. He said, I'll even give you the ransom money. You go and take care of your son. Your family is important, you should go. Your son's important, he should be with his father. And what does this companion, this true Shia of Ahlul Bayt reply? He says, no, my job is with you. Allah will take care of my family. I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to defend you. We have to figure out what kind of Shias we want to be, right? Inshallah, if we can figure that out, let's recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's easy for us to say, but these are things that we do have to work towards, inshallah. And hopefully through these types of series, these types of discussions, we can work towards building that iman, that level of faith, so we can get rid of these spiritual diseases and build up together as a community the spiritual strengths that we need so that when the Imam does call, we can all rise up together, inshallah. Now, let's continue with our discussion. The reason that we wanted to go through this and analyze what the Kufans had done is, one of the reasons at least, is to see, okay, we also have been pledging allegiance, writing letters, quote unquote, or aridas to the Imam, to our Imam. We have been making dua al-faraj, and saying, Imam, come back, we're waiting, we're going to defend you, we want you, we love you, all this. Said, okay, let's compare what we are doing, our motives and goals, with the motives and goals of those different groups of Kufans and Basrans back then. And let's see how it matches up. And then we'll be able to place ourselves to see when the Imam, inshallah, does return, where would we actually stand? So we talked about, again, that sometimes physically we write these aridas, sometimes you just recite du'as. The question that we would ask ourselves is this: why do you want the Imam to return? Ask yourself, why do you want the Imam to come back? This is where we'd say there's three motivations that we can do, attaching it to the three types of motivations we mentioned before. The first one we talked about last time was, it could be selfish for materialistic reasons, worldly reasons, right? We said that sometimes we end up treating Allah, we treat the Imams as genies in a lamp, right? Bab al-Hawaj, I have these desires, I need you to take care of them. It's not haram, they say that they'll do that, right? I'm not saying it's something wrong necessarily, but it's not what's expected out of Shias. The Imams expect better than that. And the main point is this, is that if that is our main goal for the Imam to come back, then there's a good chance that we are going to become victims of worldly, dunyawi propaganda. If somebody offers us the things that we're asking the Imam for, say, look, why are you waiting for this person who's hidden to grant you, this new job or car or money, whatever? I can give that to you. Why do you need them? You don't need them. And shaitan will come to many of us and use those goals that we have. Those physical, monetary motivations that you and I may have, he'll come and attack us with that. And it won't be so obvious to us, but that's how he can get it to us. He said, if that's why you want the Imam to come back, well then forget it. I can take care of it before the Imam comes. If that's the case, then basically we don't really need the Imam in that sense, because we have somebody else taking care of our hajat. Na'udhu billah. If you're well and safe off, if you're well off and safe, then really, right? If somebody's, they're in economic security, have a nice house, alhamdulillah, they're comfortable in their living standards, good job, security, all that, nice family. And if that's really your goal for the Imam, well, then do you really have a goal anymore? If you have everything you need in life, what's the point? If you have no other higher goals, you don't need the Imam then. And in fact, the Imam doesn't need you either. So there is no reason for the Imam to come back. That's the first group. The second group, if we're taking it up a notch, their desires, their motivations, their goals are socio-political in nature. It's about society. It's about politics. It's about social justice, equality, liberty, all these ideas. So they want safety for everybody. They want economic liberty and economic justice and economic security. They want equality in the world, all these ideas. They see oppression all throughout the world, right? In Palestine, in Kashmir, in Yemen, in Hijaz. All over the world we're seeing this. They say, Imam, please come back, we want you to take care of this. Or some people will attach it to modern day ideas, even in our own country, right? And this is where I wanted to kind of take a pause and open up a few points here. This is where it seems many of us seem to have our motivations for the Imam. Now, in one point, yes, will the Imam bring that justice and equality and all that? Yes, definitely. One point is, what definition are we actually talking about? Whose definition of justice do you actually want? Whose definition of economic security do you want? Whose definition of liberty and freedom are we after? Are you talking about the one that the Prophet had, the Prophet brought, the one that Imam Ali said, that the ones that the people, the Muslims were begging, oh Ali, please come, be our leader now. He said, you can't handle my justice. You won't be able to handle it. Are we looking for that Alawi justice, or are we looking for some other sort of post-enlightenment, liberal sort of humanist creation, something else? Well, we have to ask ourselves what we're looking for. Because one of those versions may already be here, we don't necessarily need the Imam for that. Or, even if we say, no, we're looking for something more, the slogans we end up using for the Imam, which I'm sorry to say, it's become, I don't know, it's almost a cliche, right? It's like a fad to just say, Imam Hussein stood for this. Imam Hussein is a champion for justice. He's a leader for freedom. So the first social justice warrior, like this. I'm so sorry, but this is just a bunch of nonsense. Somebody show me where in the words of the Imam is he saying that this is what my mission is, that's why I'm rising up. If somebody can show me in the Imam's words, that's what he's rising up for economic security or things like this, fine, show me, and I'll stand corrected, no problem. I've done a little bit of due diligence, I've looked through his words, I've tried to. I don't see anything like that. The Imam seems very, very clear, and we've heard it over and over again why he rose up. He says, I'm rising up to do islah in the ummah of my grandfather. I'm going to use the same method that my grandfather and my father used. I want to make sure Allah's kitab, the kitabullah, is being implemented again. That's what I want to be doing, because it's not being done right now. And that's exactly what those first groups of Shias, that's what they were calling for. Said, yeah, Imam, that's what you're for, that's what we want. How often do we actually hear that in somebody, their explanation of Imam Hussein's mission? They end up taking it to a whole different direction. Now look, if you're inspired by the Imam to do something, okay, whatever. But be careful of how you attribute the Imam to all these kind of fad ideas. Imam Hussein, a champion against systemic racism. Well, what is this? Where is this stuff coming from? We shouldn't be force-feeding all of these different ideas into the Imam's message when he's very clear about what he rose up for. Now, is a natural conclusion of the Imam's mission justice and equality and liberty and all this stuff? Yes, it is. But is that his actual main modus operandus? Is that that's why he's going? No. That's not why he's actually getting up. It is a conclusion, but that's not the main reason. Because when His laws are being implemented, then naturally there's justice. Naturally there's liberty. Naturally there's equality. That's all that stuff that comes there. But it's the way that Allah defines it, the way that Islam defines it, the way that the Prophet had implemented, the way that the Imams have been implemented. Not the way that others have in their minds. So if we have these other sort of ideas and slogans, then some people, let's just say that, for example, systemic racism or whatever ends. And let's say the issue between the Zionist regime in Palestine stops, and Kashmir is fine. In all these countries, everything's done. And there's peace in the world. So for that group, is there any reason for the Imam to come back? For them, they have to say, no. Well, there's peace, there's justice, there's equality. It's fine. Nobody's being oppressed in that sense. But that's where we come to the third and final group. They say, no. Even if all of that is there, the problem is the rightful leader is not there. The rightful implementation of what Allah wants in society is not being done yet. And that's why we don't go with simple materialistic concerns and goals. We don't go with simply just social justice and socio-political and economic ideas. That's why that third group, for us calling for the Imam, is that because we have divine concerns. Allah, we want your will to be done on this earth. That's what we're here for. That's why we're calling for the Imam. Even if we vote for this and that leader, and they implement as equitable and as economically sociable and free as a system as possible, if it's not the Imam, then that's not enough for us. It's not enough for us. Well, it's not enough for this group, let me put it that way. Now, whether we're this group or not, that's a question we all have to ask ourselves. Is this why we're calling the Imam? They say, Allah, I want you to hasten the reappearance of your hujjah, because he's the only one that can implement truth on this earth. No one else can do that. And that truth ends up showing up as your laws, as your economic system, as your legal system, as all these different ideas. If that's what's in our hearts, then we'll be like that first main group that was quick to write their letters to the Imam. If not, then we have some other issues that we're going to have to deal with. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And perhaps this is why, in narrations, we see that this is perhaps what's blocking and stopping the Imam of the time from returning in the first place. Sometimes we hear, oh, it's our sins that are doing that. Sure, that's a part of it. I'm not going to deny that. But again, we can look at one of the narrations, which is attributed to the Imam of the time, who is saying exactly what is causing him, what is leading him to be pushed away from us, or what are we doing that's pushing him away from us. Right, we have this in one of our narrations. In one of the letters that he writes to one of our scholars, he says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَشْيَاعَنَا وفقهم الله لطاعته على اجتماع من القلوب في الوفاء بالعهد عليهم لما تأخر عنهم اليمنى بلقائنا. If our Shias, may Allah give them the tawfiq and the ability to obey Him. Right? He knows that some of us have issues in just obeying God. It's like, if our Shias, may Allah please give us the tawfiq to be able to obey Allah, if they became united in their hearts, in what? In being loyal, in honoring their promises, in staying true to their oaths, in their allegiances, in their treaties, then there wouldn't be any delay in meeting us. He continues, وَلَتَعَجَّلَتْ لَهُمَ السَّعَادَةِ بِمُشَاهَدَتِنَا عَلَى حَقِّ الْمَعْرِفَةِ وَصِدْقَهَا مِنْهُمْ بِنَا. Not only would that delay in meeting us have gone away, there wouldn't have been a delay, but the happiness that you and I are dying for, the happiness in meeting the Imam that you and I want, the happiness that he says, the happiness in meeting us, the happiness which is based on what? Which is based on true, real ma'rifah of us, meaning ma'rifah of the Ahlul Bayt, that would have come much, much sooner. So now he's giving us these clues here, that if we had real ma'rifah of the Ahlul Bayt, then this stuff, this zuhur or the ghaibah would have ended much, much sooner. Then he ends, and this is the killer line. يَحْبِسُنَا عَنْهُمْ إِلَّا مَا يَتَّصِلُ بِنَا مِمَّا نَكْرَهُهُ وَلَا نُؤْثِرُهُ مِنْهُمْ. Even in trying to translate this, I don't think I can get across really what the Imam is, saying from his heart. But this is the best that I can really say. There is nothing that is holding us back from them, meaning from the Shias, except the things that they do which disgust us. The things that you and I are doing which are disgusting to the Ahlul Bayt. And what does he say at the end? He says, we don't expect that from them. We have better expectations from you. And I'm saying this to myself first. Reading something like this, yes, we, alhamdulillah, we try to offer our prayers every day. We fast in the month of Ramadan. We're trying to read our Quran. We're offering our azah. We give tabarruk and niyaz. We donate. We do all these things. Alhamdulillah. May Allah accept all this. Taqabbalallah a'maluna. Inshallah, we all get accepted in that. But this is... Isn't this heartbreaking that this is the way the Imam is talking to us? And this letter was written from the time of, they say, Sheikh Mufid. So this has been since that time. Now see the difference, as inshallah if we have a few minutes I'll mention now, because I wanted to end with parts of the sermon of the fourth Imam. The difference between them, meaning those, the Kufans and Basrans, those who betrayed the Imam, was that the Imam, at that point when he addressed them, said, we have no hope for you anymore. Right? In one of the words of Imam Sajjad to those in Kufa, he said, we don't think that you guys can do any better than this. You broke your promise, we don't expect anything else from you. But what Imam al-Mahdi seems to be saying to us is that, I expect better from you. I think you can do better. So in a sense, this does break our heart to say that we have been really messing up. But at the same time, it seems that, well, we could be doing a lot better. We should be careful of being so complacent and being okay with the way that you and I are acting in our lives right now. Alhamdulillah, we have some general understanding of the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt and general history, and we know our fiqh and theology and this and that. But what is that? Besides what? Basic Sunday school level? Do you think that we've gone more than that? And I've had multiple people tell me after, for example, the discussion we had on the various different letters from Kufa, they said, we never heard of that before. Now, whether that's the fault of, let's say, ulama and speakers not addressing it, that's one thing. But whether that's the fault of us not reading our history, that's something else. The point is, with all this stuff available right now, what excuse do we really have not to improve ourselves? Everybody keeps talking about, oh, it's so amazing, everything's online, all these classes, all these books, Zoom sessions, workshops, sessions. You can tune into this session coming in Pakistan live, and in UK they're doing this, and on the West Coast they have this. Alhamdulillah, that's wonderful. But how much are we actually taking, learning, and implementing? Or do we just want to continue on with the same stuff that we've been doing over and over and over again? Oh, Hasan, we've heard this stuff before. Just recite the Masayib the way we want to hear, and then just, khalas, you're done. That's all we need. Okay. If you want me to speak to you like Imam Sajjad spoke to the Kufans, I can do that. I don't think I can do that. One is because I don't think we should put ourselves in that position. And because it seems that Imam al-Mahdi is saying that, no, I expect better from you. You know this slogan that we keep hearing every day is Ashura, every land is Karbala. I say, fine, that sounds like a nice ideal. But we have to be careful that we don't make every land Kufa. If we want to make every land Karbala, we should act like the ones who are at Karbala. Be careful that we don't become the ones for every day for us is that it's Ashura, but we are ending up in Kufa. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So there's other points that I wanted to go through, but we are running out of time. But I wanted to connect this a little bit to the sermon of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam in Kufa as well. As was mentioned, many historians say there was 4 khutbahs had given before they had went to the palace of Ibn Ziyad. The first was from Bibi Zainab alayhi salam, then from Kulthum alayhi salam, then from Bibi Sakina alayhi salam, and then from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now again, all their sermons were relatively short, right? They weren't that long, but I don't really have time to go through everything, right? And most of us have heard at least parts of it, maybe not the whole thing, right? Where Imam Sajjad alayhi salam starts off by saying, "O people, those of you who know me, know me. If you don't know me, then know that I am Ali, son of Hussein." And he first starts off by talking about what exactly took place in Karbala, right? So the first thing he does is he gives them, the information, as if they didn't really recognize the oppression of what went on. Whereas Bibi Zainab just starts right away and says, "This is your problem." Now Imam Sajjad takes a slightly different approach, which I don't want to analyze completely, but he starts off by saying, "Look, this is what happened. All these are the qualities you have. You are double crossers, according to what Bibi Zainab is saying. You've broken your oaths. Now, what is the result of you breaking your oaths? This is what happened. My father was killed, thirsty, right? Near Al-Qama, near Euphrates." And then he goes one by one mentioning all these ideas. But he says, look, Shahada is an honor for us. But you doing what you did, breaking your oath, that's a dishonor for you. So he mentions, we are not necessarily affected. The Ahlul Bayt are not going to be affected by this. Their darajat, maqam, their levels with Allah, right? Their level is ma ra'aytu illa jamila. They see nothing but beauty. Their level is when Hussein says, if Allah, this is how you want me to come to you, then I'm happy to give up my whole family to see you. This is their level. But for the people of Kufa, saying this is your level. You broke your oath and you let your Imam, you let the family of the Prophet die. This is what happened to you. So he's breaking them down more and more. And then as he goes little by little, as he starts, mentioning all these different things and saying that, your ideologies are ugly, what you've done is disgusting, all these, as he goes one by one, then they become very remorseful, right? Just like with Bibi Zainab and everybody else, they begin crying and wailing. They start saying to one another, like, "Oh, what's wrong with us? I wish we were dead. I can't believe we let this happen." And then some of them say, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Basically, again, I want to summarize it because I'll need to summarize it. So after that happens, when they say that, they're telling all the Kufans are turning, like, "I can't believe we did this. What's wrong with us? Why didn't we know what we were doing? Why did we break our oath?" etc., etc. The Imam says, "May Allah's mercy be upon him who accepts my counsel and safeguards my recommendation in the way of Allah, the Prophet of Allah and his Ahlul Bayt. That we possess better following while having relation with the Prophet of Allah." Then, again, many of them continue, and they say, "Yabna Rasulullah, okay, we messed up. We're remorseful. Now tell us, what should we do? Okay, we're ready now. We're here with you. We understood, we made a mistake. Okay, but now we're ready. Tell us, we're with you. We're ready to rise up. Tell us what to do." And then this is something where the Imam says something unexpected. فَقَالَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ هَيْهَاتْ هَيْهَاتْ. He says, "Get out of here. No. Never. You're deceivers. You're loaded with fraud." He said there's a block between what you're saying and what you do. The Imam is looking into the reality now. He said, "Do you want to try to be just with me and fair to me and honor your commitment in the same way you did with my father, with my grandfathers, with my great-grandfather? That's what you want to do with me now?" He said, "No. We learned our lesson. You will have to deal with the consequences of your actions." He said, "The deep wounds of the shahada of my father and my family have not yet healed. The wounds inflicted upon the chest of the Holy Prophet, my father, and his sons have not yet been forgotten. The bones of my neck are broken due to the sorrow, and the bitterness of it exists between my throat and my chest. The bones of my heart are suffocating me. My desire is that you should not be of those who benefit us, nor of those who harm us. And basically he said, don't ever try to support us again, and don't ever come against us again. You've ruined your lives. May Allah protect us from ever being a group like this. You know, when we talk about the tragedy of Imam Sajjad, may Allah accept the condolences that we offer to Rasulullah, to Sayyidah Fatima, to Imam Hasan, Imam Hussein, to all of the Ahlul Bayt, to the Imam of the time. We extend our condolences to all the mu'mineen and mu'minat as we observe the shahada of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. You know, we describe the Imam in many different ways. Sometimes he's abidi bimar, right? He's the sick one. He's the bereaved one. He's the grieving one. He's so sick and frail. These are not the ways to describe the Imam, with all due respect. What the Imam had to deal with, the pain and struggle that he had to hold. He had two different types. He had a spiritual, emotional pain that he had to carry with him from witnessing what happened at Karbala on Ashura all the way to Kufa, to Sham, back to Medina for the rest of his life. Now, this didn't weaken him. This didn't cause him to be a quietist, as some say. No. But it was something that bore on his soul, definitely. And this is what caused him to express that grief more so than, they'd say, many of the other Ahlul Bayt. But they say that there was also not just signs of that emotional, spiritual pain, but there is also signs of physical pain from what took place there. When his son, Imam Baqir, was performing the ghusl, there's a narration attributed to him. Now remember, Imam Baqir is only, 2, 3, maybe 4 years old when he's present with his father at Karbala. He's now coming with his father from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, back to Medina. Look, imagine a son being raised with a father and their father having to go through all this trauma in their life. When Imam Baqir narrates, he says that when I was performing the ghusl of my father, that's when it became aware to me the physical pain, the physical things that he was hiding from me his whole life. He was my own father, and I didn't know that these things were on him. The same way that Sayyid had hidden her broken rib from Ali, they say that Imam Sajjad was hiding his scars, the pain that he had physically from his own son. Imam Baqir says, when I was ready to perform the ghusl of my father, I first took a look at his neck and I saw those burn marks. I saw those nail marks from that collar, that iron shackle which was put on his neck, the type which Arabs only used for somebody like Imam Sajjad, where they took the nails and they made it so it was protruding and it went and dug into the neck of the Imam. So that anytime he tried to turn his head, those nails would cut his neck over and over again, as the sun of Karbala would burn into his skin. He said, I saw these marks on his neck for the first time. And on his back, when I saw his back, I saw the whips of shimmer, the stuff that would stick to his clothes, these things that I'd never seen in my life before. The same whip marks that were on the back of Sakina as well when they were performing the ghusl of Sakina. It's no wonder now when we see this poetry, when Imam Sajjad was reciting this, when he ended his khutbah in Kufa, he ended with this beautiful poetry, this heartbreaking poetry when he was addressing the Kufans. He says, لا غروا إن قتل الحسين وشيخه قد كان خيرا من حسين وأكرما. No wonder that Hussein was killed, and his father, who was better and greater than him. فلا تفرحوا يا أهل الكوفان بالذي أصيب حسين كان ذلك أعظما. Oh Kufans, don't be happy with what happened to Hussein. It was a terrible incident. قتيل بشط النهر روحي فداؤه جزاء الذي أرداه نار جهنم. What happened to Hussein was terrible. He was killed thirsty on the banks of the river Euphrates. May Allah sacrifice my soul for him, while the reward for his murderers will be Jahannam. Imam Sajjad had witnessed so much in his life. He's carrying all of this. But imagine what he had to deal with on the plains of Karbala itself. The whole time he's in and out of consciousness on his bed. When finally he's able to see his father for the last time. When Hussein comes on the morning, on the afternoon of Ashura, and he comes to his bed. And he wakes up his son. And he says, Ya Bunayya, this is my final salam to you. This is my akhiri salam. When Imam Sajjad begins saying, I don't understand, Abata, what are you saying to me, Baba? Why are you saying these things to me? He says, are you saying that you're going out to fight now? How was that possible? He said, Aina Habib ibn Mudahir. Where's Habib ibn Mudahir? He says, Bunayya qad qutil. He's been killed. Aina Muslim ibn Awsaja. Where's Muslim ibn Awsaja to defend you? Bunayya qad qutil. He's been killed. After he goes and names companion after companion, then he says, Ya Abata, Baba, tell me, Aina Ammu Abbas. He says, what about my uncle Abbas? Bunayya qad qutil. He's been killed as well. Aina Akhi Ali al-Akbar. Where's my brother Ali al-Akbar? Bunayya qad qutil. And they say Hussein wanted to stop there because he knows that if he asks one more question, then he'll have to say, even your brother Ali al-Asghar was killed thirsty on the plains of Karbala. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره. صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. اڑاؤ خاک زادارو کے عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں اڑاؤ خاک زادارو کے عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں بھوکا مل کر کرو یارو کہ عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں اڑاؤ خاک زادارو کہ عابد ہوتے ہیں چلی ہے خلد سے زہرا ہے حر پیچتی ہمراہ مدینے میں ہے گل یارو کہ عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں اڑاؤ آزادارو کہ عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں کہاں زہرا نے اے بابا ستم مجھ پہ ہوا تازہ ذرا تم آ کے دیکھو کہ عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں اڑاؤ زادارو کہ عابد ہوتے ہیں ہوا بن باپ کا باقر کھڑے ہیں پیٹتے سر کو دو پرسا جو باقر کو کہ عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں آؤ خاک زادارو کہ عابد دفن ہوتے ہیں اڑاؤ خاک عزاداروں کے عابد ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، صبر کی ملکہ زہرا کی پیاری شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، دیکھ رہی ہے کوئی تو آئے شان پکڑ کے کاش بٹھائے، نہ ہے سواری نہ ہے ہماری شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، بھائی بھتیجے بھانجے بیٹے ساتھ وطن سے آئی تھی لے کے، ہائے مقدر آج اکیلی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، بیٹوں کو صدقہ بھائی پہ کر کے جس نے کیے تھے شکر کے سجدے، چھوڑ کے تنہا لاش کو اس کی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، کتنے ہی قیدی جس نے چھڑائے آج وہ بی بی سر کو جھکائے، ایک ردا کی بن کے سوالی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، جس کی کنیزیں نکلے نہ باہر بلوے میں لائے اس کو ستم گئے، آئے یہ غربات بنت علی کی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، صبر کی ملکہ زہرا کی پیاری شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی ہے، پیارے نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی، رحم اللہ من کرہ الفاتحہ۔
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم، أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين، اللهم صل على محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا سيد الشهداء بكربلاء يا أبا عبد الله، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وجميع الشهداء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أئمة المعصومين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة القائم بن حسن المهدي مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان من شر الشيطان، يا شريك القرآن يا خليفة الرحمن يا مظهر الإيمان، إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهوره، واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره وشياعه والمستشهدين بين يديه. السلام عليكم جميع المعصومين والأنبياء والمرسلين ورحمة الله وبركاته.